First and foremost, I'd say happiness is a choice. You can choose to be happy every single day, even despite your circumstances. Our mutual friend Rory talks about, the guiding questions, the beacon of light that has helped me tremendously is, okay, what one word problem do you feel called to solve? Who exactly do you feel called to solve it for? And then what is your uniqueness in solving it? So if you can answer those three questions, you can build a side hustle around those three questions and the answers to them, and then ultimately trade in your maybe 9 to 5 that is feeling like a grind that has you unfulfilled and unhappy with something that you do feel called to do.
Welcome to another episode of Negotiate Your Best Life. I'm so excited to talk to this guy today. I was doing my research. I was actually just on his podcast, but I hadn't done the research on him because, I was on his. And we were introduced by a very dear friend, Mike Zeller. And a shout out to Mike.
Yeah.
And yeah. And then I start to do the research and I'm going, is this one guy? How can this one guy, he's so young, have done all these things? He went to the Second City and he's been a model and an actor and he's been an amazing entrepreneur, super, super successful in multiple businesses, now another one. And I mean, really, it's so interesting, his life. So, and I see Rory Vaden, who's another dear friend who we have in common, right? But now he ended up being super burned out. He had built this unbelievable business and then hit rock bottom because he was just so really the top but the bottom, right? And so he ends up in Thailand and just so burned out. And from there, really is in his zone. And he's going to tell you all about how to have the blissful life that you want, how to get where you want to go. And I'm so excited to dive into the framework that he has come up with that's going to help you get there too. So welcome and thank you for being here.
Oh, Rebecca, I'm honored to be here. Thank you so much. And yes, after the Rockin' the Mic on the Happy Hustle podcast, I was like, oh, we became fast friends. And I was like, you are a happy hustler through and through, and I just love your energy. So I'm honored to be here.
Well, I am so loving everything that you are about. I mean, it's really such the mission and the purpose. And I have to tell you that at church this past weekend, our pastor was talking about how the two biggest questions that he sees are, if you got to have dinner with God, what would be the two biggest questions? And they are, why is there so much suffering in the world? And what is my purpose? And he was saying those two questions actually go together. Because we are made to help people. And we are made to let go where our heart has been broken, where we have been broken. And you are best created to help the person that you used to be. Right? And that's our mission. That's our purpose. That's what we were built for.
Yep.
And he's like, what is our, what is my purpose? And why is there so much suffering? Oh, those two things go together. And that was such an aha moment for me.
You nailed it. And so did your pastor. And I think, first of all, passion and purpose, they're like cliche buzzwords. We all get that. And I even, succumb to using them probably too much. However, I look at passion as like this inward calling on your heartstrings, right? And then purpose is like this external mission in who you want to serve, right? And then for us, it's all about making a positive impact. Like you could have passion and purpose, but it needs to ultimately make a positive impact. And I think if you can really combine those three things, like you will be happy hustling, you will be joyful in your everyday reality.
Yeah, so much so. But you were chasing the thing. You were chasing the 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 thing, they say leisure, pleasure, treasure, or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And so you had it though. I mean, you were living in the big city and you were an actor and a model and you had success. I mean, you weren't just like trying to scrape by. You were like with Wilhelmina and you were acting. And I mean, you were then turned it into a business that was pretty successful. Tell us about that.
Well, yeah, I guess you have to define what success actually means to you. That's, I think, where I got it twisted. I was chasing someone else's version of success,
Mm,
ego, status, money, materialistic items, power, right? These things that society deems important. That was
right.
my MO.
Yes.
And it
Yes.
wasn't
That's
until
a good. I'm glad that you actually um, corrected me on that. But what everybody else, what a lot of
yes.
people would see as success. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And I think I fell victim to this version of success. And it wasn't until I had most of it that I realized it wasn't what it's cracked up to be. And, I do I do believe that I had to go through that adversity and reach that pivotal point to ultimately realize this ain't it. I wanted something different. We were building, as you mentioned, I've always been an entrepreneur, but I found a need in the entertainment industry to quantify feedback. That was really it. I was, working as a commercial actor more so and model at the time, but I realized that none of the castings I would get feedback. Speaking of negotiating and, really like putting your best life out there. I was constantly going on castings, aka job interviews, and negotiating for my place in the part, right? And you fail forward oftentimes, but I realized I wasn't getting the feedback I needed to grow. So I created this basic algorithm to quantify feedback, based around the questions, what should I start doing, stop doing, and keep doing? And I think those are three great questions for everyone to use after any reflection point. What should I start doing, stop doing, and keep doing? And so I quantified this with my brother and business partner and best friend who is all the same person. His name's Grant. Um, he and I created this algorithm that then I didn't see the merit at the time, but it had industry potential in far greater niches than just the entertainment industry, the dating industry. Think about if you could quantify your dates and get real feedback from the first date, right? Or the job market, right? And getting, so I didn't see it, but investors did. So we had these big investments on the table, a partnership with Microsoft and IBM on the table, lots of things lined up for this grandiose 5-year exit. And unfortunately, I was so unhappy, so unfulfilled after just working like a dog for, 100+ hour weeks for 18 months that I just burnt out. So I ended up, like you mentioned, moved to Bangkok, Thailand, figured out a better way to work and live in alignment. I say I put the happy in my hustle. And then that sent me on the journey to creating content around this idea of systematically harmonizing ambition and well-being, aka happy hustling. So fast forward, we got the podcast, the book, masterminds, all things centered around creating that blissful balance.
Mm. Okay, so I'm going to go there. I'm going to ask you this question because I often say, and I say this in the opening of my podcast, which is I think that sometimes the very first negotiation that we have to do is with our own selves in the morning for our own self-worth.
Mm, it's powerful.
Yeah. So I think that sometimes we're on this chase for what you were on this chase for, which is looking to get accolades or self-worth through the external because we are looking to get our self-worth taken care of that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And do you think that that's what you were doing, like hustling for your worthiness?
100%. Yeah. I mean, I think that's, my dad, I feel like if I had to identify the trigger point, I would say growing up it was never enough, and I always say my dad was a dictator, emphasis on the dick part. And and
Whoa.
but he was a great man, just a hard man, and so it was like I was always seeking his approval, point being, and I think that, still seeking it, you know what I mean? But I think that definitely is an accurate assessment.
Oh, that is so funny. I think it was a John Mulaney or one of those comedians said something like, "My dad definitely loved us. He just forgot to tell us," or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, same.
um, so yeah, I mean, I think a lot of us end up hustling for our worthiness because we just don't feel it inside, right? And so, and I think that that's definitely the heart of narcissism, right? I mean, because I think that it's a spectrum, it's a scope. Um, and so what changed for you?
Well, I did a lot of work in this area. I read multiple books that I think helped shift it and really helped me seek inward more so. One being The Peaceful Warrior by Dan Millman. I don't know if you've ever read that book,
Heard
but
of it. Yeah.
yeah, I've since become, friends with Dan, and it's a powerful read that helped shift my perspective. And I think mentors along the journey have helped. Also, just I fall victim to becoming a people pleaser
Mm.
oftentimes, and I just want to serve and support people, but sometimes it's to my own detriment. And I think at some point throughout the journey, I just realized, and you know, going deep, I'd say maybe still there isn't. It's probably not fully healed, to just right, to
Well,
be honest.
well, that's common when you have a parent that was not that was kind of hot and cold,
Yeah.
actually, because you're trying to please that parent.
Mm,
And so you end up having leaky boundaries of your own.
yeah.
So, I mean, I learned that lesson the hard way too. I mean, we call it an empath, but in some ways, it ends up being, like for me, for example, what would happen as an employer, I would end up not holding people to account for work that they were supposed to be doing because they had a sob story going on at home or something.
Mm,
And I would be afraid that I would make me look like a bad person if I made them do their work. Oh, well, but they've got stuff going on at home. So how can I make them do their work? That everybody's going to think that I'm not nice then.
mm-hmm,
You know what I mean? And so I would end up having leaky boundaries around that.
mm-hmm,
Um, and I don't do that anymore because one has nothing to do with the other. I mean, I can still be a good person and a nice person and hold people to account for their job and empathize that they have issues at home, but they're hired to do a job,
mm-hmm.
right? So,
Amen.
yeah,
I mean, it is one of those things. You nailed it. Being empathetic is a phenomenal quality. However, if you want to be an entrepreneur or a leader of any sort, you have to have boundaries. And even to have healthy relationships, you have to have boundaries. And not only did I have to set boundaries with my father, but also my mother. And I think everyone has to set boundaries in their personal and professional relationships in order to protect thyself.
totally. And what happens is that toxic people will take advantage of the people with the leaky boundaries, because they'll see, oh, that person is allowing me to get away with.
Mm.
And then they actually start to become uh, almost like indignant if you don't let them continue to get away with, oh, well, I should have, that you've always let me get away with it before. So I'm entitled to that. Right.
Yeah, you nailed it. You're so articulate with how you describe this entire ecosystem of narcissism. I just have to commend you for it because it really resonates, especially I'm sure for not only me but the audience. And it's just it's kudos to your superpower. So I appreciate that.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, I've lived it, because I've
Yeah.
been there. And, if for me as a lawyer, I, I've always been, I don't practice anymore. I just do this full time now, and I actually certify people in
Hmm.
my high conflict certification and all. But as a lawyer, it was one thing to completely advocate very strongly on behalf of
Mm.
and know the law, and I'll go to bat for anybody, and I'll whatever. But for my own self, it was different, and so I had a narcissistic business partner who ended up taking advantage of me. And then I had, my there's people in my family who are narcissists, and
Hmm.
who's caused a lot of problems for my husband and me. And it's made it's been difficult. It's been difficult. So.
I can resonate. I mean, you and I talked pre-chat, but like that is something in my family as well. It's there's high conflict personalities, and it's something I've dealt with my entire life from the get-go. It's it's hard to think about how manipulated I've been throughout my entire childhood, and I've been conditioned to succumb to the victimization. And I think that's what happens oftentimes when you are dealing with these type of individuals. But if you don't create those barriers, if you don't have a toolkit to handle the adversity, you will succumb. And I just think whether you're dealing with it in a professional setting or a personal setting, like having like you have a way to slay the bully and to really, have the framework, it's necessary, imperative for inner peace. And
Hmm. Hmm.
ultimately, I'm just I'm still going through it. I again, I don't claim to be the guru at this at any capacity. It's just a reporter of what's worked, barriers, having a framework, having a toolkit to work when adversity does strike. As my friend Brian Johnson talks about from he wrote the book Arate,
Oh yeah,
and
I interviewed him. Yes.
what a stud, right? He's a
Yeah.
great human, but he has a saying to forge anti-fragility. When life hits you hard, you need to result back to your protocol, not succumb to your weakest desires, right? And I think oftentimes if you want to forge that anti-fragility, you need to have a protocol to deal with it.
Yes, and so I just spoke on the same stage as Trent Shelton,
Mm-hmm.
like a week or so ago, and he talked about boundaries. And he was saying that boundaries are the walls that were built by the toxic person themselves. They built it
Mm-hmm.
because they wouldn't be there had they not built them. It's like we didn't build those walls. They built those walls. And to actually change your frame of reference around them, because in a way, then they become bridges to new things. They become bridges to a new idea, a new life, a new way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And in a lot of ways, that's what happened with you, because you use that. I mean, Rumi talks about how the wound is the place that the light enters you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happened with you. I mean, you were hustling so hard for your worthiness, grinding it so hard for your worthiness that it literally put you to the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure. I mean, I was literally like tears in my eyes having to rip up paperwork for seven figures in funding and this massive, you know, potential opportunity. And I was so defeated, just no joy left in me because all I was doing was working. And I just think there is an epidemic going on of soul sacrificing. You know, it's sad but true. Over 75%, it's technically 77, according to Gallup State of the Global Workplace study. 3 out of every 4 employees are said to be disengaged and unhappy with what they do for work. And you think about it, it's like that that is such a problem. It's not that you have to love what you do, but to be disengaged and unhappy is the complete antithesis of
Wow.
creating joy.
And I
So
wonder
that's
what's
yeah.
behind that. I wonder what's behind that. I wonder if it's that they don't have purpose. I wonder if it's that they're dealing with a difficult person. I wonder if it's, I mean, I'm sure it's like a multitude of reasons, but yeah, I
Well, one I'll tell you is leadership.
leadership, yeah,
Yeah.
a difficult leader, a
Yeah,
toxic leader,
exactly.
probably.
Exactly. High conflict personality.
Yeah, I bet you it.
Yeah.
I do not doubt that at all.
Yeah.
I wonder what percentage of that of it is a high conflict leader.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the data does suggest that high conflict personalities in leadership positions cause unhappiness in the workplace. And that's not, a rocket scientist didn't have to figure that out. But obviously, that is definitely a factor when you have, you know,
Oh,
leaders who aren't
course.
qualified,
Of
right?
course. Of course. But
Yeah.
I mean, I wonder what percentage it is. So
Yeah.
you've come up with and you have a book, the Happy Hustle book, 10 alignments to avoid burnout and
Hmm.
achieve blissful balance. But
Hmm.
even if you're not trying to avoid burnout, but you just want to achieve blissful balance, it's absolutely on point. And I think an amazing framework. And
Thank you.
I think, and you actually rate yourself
Hmm.
on these 10 alignments,
Yeah.
and you rank yourself from 1 to 5, and you do this every day. You do this for yourself every day, right?
Technically, I have a blissful balancer that ranks it every day if I did or didn't do my action tasks, but I have a assessment that I take on Sundays, so once a week to quantify the week prior.
Okay. All right. And so I'm going to name them and then we can talk about them
Yeah,
briefly.
let's do it.
Okay. So, selfless service, optimize health, unplug digitally, which scares me actually when he talked about that. Loving relationships, mindful spirituality, have abundance financially, persistent personal development, have passionate hobbies, do impactful work, and connect with nature.
Hmm. Yeah, so it makes up an acronym, soul mapping, your soul's map to the blissfully balanced promised land. And for me, it really was just to scratch my own itch of like being so burnt out and singularly focused on work. I was like, all right, what are the other areas of life that I really want to put energy into? And I realized there's some solid frameworks out there, but there wasn't enough that went, or there wasn't any that went deep enough per se, for me at least. And so I broke it down into these 10 different areas of life to focus on. And
Mhm.
I don't know if you've ever heard, I'd love to put you on the air live and we could just honestly go through the assessment for you, and then people following along can do it themselves if
I'm
you're feeling
game. I'm
game.
game. Sure,
Yeah.
of course.
All right.
And you even have like a template for each one and everything. Is pretty cool. But yeah, it's
Yeah, I will say, so the assessment is quite telling because in order to grow, we need to know, right? Like this is the first step. We need to measure where we're at, but then the book is there to increase your score in each of the 10 areas. So there's like happy hustle hacks, acronyms, action tasks, all sorts of things that you can do. But first and foremost, we have to start with the assessment. So if you want to, it'll only take a couple minutes, but we'll go live. And then everyone listening and watching, you can actually be an active participant and take notes on your scores in each of the areas if you're game.
Of course, of course. I mean, you know, do you mean right now
We could
or?
do it right now. Yeah.
Oh, well, I don't think we can do it right now because we got to
Okay.
we have to finish recording this podcast at
Oh,
least.
no, no, no. I just ask you the questions. It takes, and it's just, hey, where would you rank yourself 1 to 5 in selfless service? And then you say a number and we go to the next one. But if you want to do it later, we can.
Want to do it like here on this podcast and then I mean we can do it while we're recording if you want to.
Yeah. Well, if we
Oh.
do it while we're recording, then everyone can take it live. Just
Oh,
on,
okay, sure.
yeah.
Let's do it. Okay.
Yeah. That's what I like to sometimes flip the script if you want to do it, because
Okay.
then
Let's
we
do
can.
it.
All right, real quick. So
Okay.
everyone, 5 is an A, you're crushing it. 1 is an F, you're failing, right? And then subsequently 2, 3, 4, you can
Okay.
figure it
Okay.
out,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
So I'll ask you a series of questions for each of the 10 different areas of life. You just write down a number, okay? And then we'll add the scores up at the end. So do you have a pen?
Well, let me go get a pen. Hold on.
Okay, I can take notes for you if you want.
Okay, hold on. Hold on.
Okay. We're doing it live, people, so stay tuned. And if you're feeling froggy, I urge you to leap into this exercise because it will actually be quite telling of where your life might be out of balance right now.
Okay. All right. I'm ready.
Okay. Selfless service, first and foremost. And this is just a big caveat for all these questions. Just rank yourself in the last 30 days. Okay. It's not your whole life. It's just the last 30 days. Okay. So think about that in terms of the last 30 days. Where would you rank yourself 1 to 5 in terms of selfless service? Like, have you been volunteering, giving your insight, finances, and time to others? Or have you been largely living for yourself, your own personal gain, your family, your inner circle? Give yourself an honest score.
Okay. All right.
Okay. And then, optimized health. 5 is you're crushing it. You're feeling mentally, physically, emotionally optimized.
Okay.
1 is the opposite. You're, I like to say, shoving crap down the pie hole and paying the price, right?
Okay.
You unplug digitally. How do you feel about, your devices? Have you been addicted to your devices, like watching Netflix and streaming podcasts and, constantly on social media and Instagram? Or have you been very deliberate with your time and giving yourself digital detoxes?
Okay.
Okay. L, loving relationships. Where are you at with the love in your life? Is there plentiful pleasure or is there angst and despair?
Okay.
Okay. So that's the soul part. So everyone should have 4 scores. Okay. Now we'll get to the mapping part. M, mindful spirituality. How connected do you feel to a higher power, right? God, Allah, Buddha, whatever you believe in. I don't really care. As long as you believe in a higher power, I do think it's important. So give yourself a score 1 to 5.
Okay.
A, abundance financially. Where are you at in terms of your finances? Do you feel like you have a system to save, invest, and spend wisely? Or are you, living paycheck to paycheck? Maybe, not where you want to be. Give yourself a score. P, personal development. Again, are you growing and evolving or are you shrinking and dissolving? Give yourself an honest score. Where are you at in this alignment?
Okay.
Okay. Second P, Jeez, I just passionate hobbies. I drew a blank on my own program. Passionate hobbies. Are you like doing fun things for yourself? Are you actually, doing painting or dance class or playing pickup soccer or whatever? Or have you just been focused on work and your kids and your family and your clients, not really filling your own cup? 1 to 5, where you at?
Okay.
Okay. I, impactful work. Where you at in terms of, really feeling connected to your work, again, infusing that passion, that purpose to make a positive impact, right?
Okay.
Okay. And then N, nature connection. How connected do you feel to, Pachamama, Mother Earth, and also, are you protecting it? Are you a part of the solution? Are you, voting with your dollar, supporting B corporations and being a conscious consumer, right? That plays in a nature connection. So that is the 10 alignments, and now you should have 10 scores, okay?
Okay.
Okay, if you're feeling brave, we can go through your scores live, or if you just want to tally them up and give me the total, I'll tell you if you're a happy hustler or not. So 40 or above is you're happy hustling. 39 or below is we got a little work to do. And this is good for everyone to tally your scores up, and now you can just see where you potentially need to prioritize change accordingly. Okay, the suspense.
33. I'm at 37, I think.
Oh, you're close. Well, I 37 is a very solid score. And, if you don't mind, if you're feeling brave, which one was your lowest?
Passionate hobbies.
You know what, Rebecca? I would have guessed that for you because you're a high performing, driven entrepreneur, hard charger. This is what a lot of my entrepreneur friends lack as well. It's because we don't do that fun stuff for ourselves oftentimes, and I tell you what, if nothing else, if you take nothing else away from this podcast, Rebecca, if you just book yourself a passionate hobby once a week, your life will be tremendously more joyous, and you will create space for creativity in your business. And it's kind of counterintuitive, but it really does make a difference.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, everything else was okay, but passionate hobbies is only because you said the last 30 days.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I will go hiking sometimes or whatever, but you said the last 30 days. So I was like, I haven't done anything in the last 30 days. So
Well,
yeah.
there you go. So that's how you do it. Just the assessment. I mean, it is free on our website, the Happy Hustle, website. You can check it out and like actually get your scores emailed to you if you want. But
Mhm.
if nothing else, just having a basic, score line of like, hey, where am I at? Where am I lacking? And how do I prioritize change? That's what the Happy Hustle is all about. And then within each of those alignments, we have an acronym for each of them, and we have action tests that you can do to increase your score.
So what's your lowest usually?
I mean, it really just depends. I will say right now I haven't been volunteering like I normally do. And I'm actually down in Florida right now, snowbirding, not in Montana where I, live most of the year. But in Montana, I have, I go to the Rotary Club, and I have a organization. I teach kids with special needs how to ride horses, and I, give to the community through a couple different programs. And that's myself a service that I really tap into. And in Florida, I haven't been because I don't have those organizational connections down here. So that's lacking for me right now, to be transparent.
Mm-hmm. Where in Florida?
I'm in West Palm Beach right now.
Oh, okay. All
Yep.
right. I'll be in Naples in a
Oh,
couple
well,
days.
come on over if you want.
All right. Well, so uh tell me, is there anything else that, if you are talking to somebody who right now is feeling pretty low, they're feeling like they're stuck in a relationship they don't want to be in, they're stuck in a job they don't want to be in, they're feeling like, well, this sounds really great, but I can't just up and move to Thailand. I can't just leave a job, or I can't just leave a relationship. What would you tell them?
Well, first and foremost, I'd say happiness is a choice. Okay. So you can choose to be happy every single day, even despite your circumstances. I can guarantee there's someone out there who has less than you have right now, but has more joy. And it's because it's a choice. I've seen it when I've traveled abroad. You mentioned Thailand, but Thailand, they call it the land of the smiles. They choose joy daily. A lot of them live in poverty, but you see kids playing on the streets with a soccer ball made of garbage, and they have family and connection and love and not much else, but it is a choice. So I would say, first and foremost, choose happiness. Then to go tactically, I would actually get into, okay, where am I lacking in those 10 different areas of life? If it is impactful work, like you mentioned, I don't like my job. Okay, well, how can I create a path to potentially, you know, build a side hustle when in my off hours, I'm almost like, sculpting my parachute right now. And, you know, our mutual friend Rory talks about, the guiding questions, the beacon of light that has helped me tremendously is, okay, what one word problem do you feel called to solve? Right? Who exactly do you feel called to solve it for? And then what is your uniqueness in solving it? So if you can like answer those three questions, you can build a side hustle around those three questions and the answers to them, and then ultimately trade in, your maybe 9 to 5 that is feeling like a grind that's has you unfulfilled and unhappy with something that you do feel called to do.
Hmm. And you do have templates in your book and, for like how to get to that next level, how to create like basically sort of SMART goals around each thing.
Yes. Yeah, I think, reverse engineering your goals and having a process around it is something I've done since I was young, whether I wanted to be class president or whatever, top, entertainment industry performer or, captain of my soccer team or whatever it was. Like I just reverse engineering your goals is a part of the process. So that's all in the book as well. Yeah.
Right. So if loving relationships is something that you want, you kind of have something in there about that.
Oh yeah. That one's kind of interesting. I created a perfect partner page for myself just after, you know, many years of seeking, right? And putting my energy into relationships that weren't necessarily um, meant to be. I created a perfect partner page that helped me just get very crystal clear, granular, will you, on what exactly I was searching for, both demographics and psychographics, right? When you do with your business, like a perfect target avatar, I did it for my significant other. And wouldn't you know it, after I got crystal clear on the target, I manifested the solution. And my wife came into now my then wife, or my then girlfriend,
Now,
she came into the picture. Now wife.
yeah.
Yeah, we have a son, a 4-month old now, and and our relationship again, definitely not perfect. We have plenty of, adversity and drama and hormones and, when I don't do what I am, if I don't take the garbage out or whatever, like I'm imperfectly human. So
Ho'oponopono, whatever. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me.
yeah, that's like my everyday, right? But it is one of those things that if you want, the perfect partner page is a part of the book as well. And it's just, I think it's without that love, like what's it all for? So we have to have that love in our life. And, it's definitely a part of happy hustling.
Love that. Okay, so where can people find out more about you and find your book and all that good stuff?
Yeah, thanks. I mean, honestly, thehappyhustle.com/book. If you want to get it, um, I don't know when this is going live, but we have the version 2.0 of the book coming out uh, in April.
Oh,
And
nice.
this is a brand new, fully revised, we say radically revised, entirely enhanced version. We hired a very prominent publishing company to go through it with a fine tooth comb and like rework every framework, every word. It's much more professional. There's still pictures of me in a Speedo in there, but much more professional than the first one. And it's a fun book at the end of the day. It's like it's fun, but it keeps it real. And there's a bunch of pre-order bonuses if you do catch this before the book goes live. There's like legit over $350 with the bonuses. The perfect partner page, we give that away. The workbook, all sorts of stuff that yeah, if someone feels called, they can, pick up a copy.
I love it. So good. So go get it. Go to his website and take the quiz and go check him out. Follow him, get the book, and start living your best life. Start living in bliss. I mean, there's no reason not to. So, I mean, I told you guys, this guy is really amazing. Did I not tell you?
Thank you,
So,
Rebecca.
oh, thank you. This is awesome. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all. Peace and love, everyone.
Yeah.